What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon. Hope you guys liked the show with Brandon that just ran on both of our channels. We went live at noon, spent about an hour and a half talking about the edge rushers. So if you did not catch it live, definitely check out the VOD. It's on both of our channels. We talk a lot about the top edge rushers in this class, an important position for the Seahawks to think about. So definitely look into that. But I want to talk a little bit about some news that we got earlier this morning. I know this is a few hours old now, but we got a schedule for the Seattle Seahawks off-season workout program. And obviously, this stuff is relatively rigidly defined in terms of the windows where things can happen. There isn't necessarily anything shocking here, but it's always worth looking into to get an idea of what is coming up as a Seahawks fan looking for things to digest. So we got this tweet from Brady Henderson here where he lays out the plan. The first day of the offseason workout program is going to be April 20th. So that is before the draft. And obviously that means there's a little bit less intrigue there because we won't have any rookies. It's all going to be guys that were either on the team last year or guys we signed in free agency. And I will acknowledge the fact that the guys we signed in free agency are not the most overly compelling players in the world, but some of them are interesting. This video is powered by Prize Picks, by the way. More on them later. But yeah, there is not going to be any rookie presence when things start, obviously. And in fact, there may not be a huge presence overall. More on that in a second here. But the OTAs, and the OTAs tend to be the stuff that's fun because that's well after the draft. The rookies are often involved, and you learn stuff about the team from them. But the OTAs that we have are late May, the 26th, the 28th, the 29th, and then June 1st, 3rd, and 4th. So that's 6 of them, I guess. I think that's all of them. Now, remember, OTAs are not required. OTAs, players can choose to skip them, and it's not necessarily considered a big problem. And again, I'll be returning to that in a second here. And then the Seahawks have a mandatory minicamp where everybody needs to be there June 9th through 11th. So that is the schedule as of right now. I don't know exactly what days the off-season workout program are going to encompass, but April 20th is the start day at least. And that gives us a little bit of a foundation to work on here when thinking about what we're going to be dealing with during the off-season. So yeah, the 20th is what, 17 days away. That's actually not terribly far away. So maybe we'll get stuff out of that. Chris Clough of Seahawk Talk posted this over on X as well. And he's quoting a Brady Henderson article, but I wanted to go ahead and highlight this tweet. But if you take a look at this quote, this is from Mike McDonald. Well, not the whole thing isn't a quote, but it's from Brady Henderson, but this is something that Mike McDonald was talking about. To account for the fact that they played well into February, 23 games, the Seahawks are adjusting their offseason workout program to give veteran players some more rest and time away. And that makes all the sense in the world because this team was playing until February, and most teams don't do that. So according to Mike, the guys that really didn't play through the playoff push, or young guys or guys that are injured, we'll ask them to come back a little bit earlier, which is going to be the April 20th start day. Phase 1 of the program, basically. But the other guys will be remote for the first 2 weeks, and then starting phase 2 is really when we're hoping to get everyone back in the building and rolling. So that kind of implies that there's an understanding that a lot of the guys are not going to show up until May, and possibly even, I know he gave the timeline of like 2 weeks, but maybe they don't even show up until we get to OTAs for all we know. So definitely interesting. Do you like sports? If you do, then the best way to make them even better and more exciting is using Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. Prize Picks makes daily fantasy simple. Just pick more or less on your favorite players' projections and build lineups with a few taps. Whatever sport you're into, Prize Picks gives you a fun way to stay locked in while you're watching. I've had a great time using Prize Picks so far. It makes this daily fantasy thing so easy and fun, and it even makes watching the games way more exciting. And with the cool social feeds feature, you can share lineups with your friends and even follow partners to tail or fade their picks. Obviously, we're in the NFL offseason right now, but we've got basketball, baseball, hockey, all kinds of other stuff, so don't be afraid to test things out in whatever sport clicks with you. You can even pick multiple sports in the same lineup and sweat everything at once. And don't forget about team picks, where you can pick winners, spreads, and totals on any major game. So, download Prize Picks, America's #1 sports app. And don't forget, code HMA, that is HMA, gives you $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. And remember, always gamble responsibly. Right. So guys like DeMarcus Lawrence, guys like Leonard Williams, guys like Jaron Reed, maybe even a guy like a JSN, who I know isn't old, but he had a full load last season, and we trust him. It's not like he needs the extra reps. Maybe they don't show up until later. That's possible, and it's certainly fine by me. But once we get to the OTAs, those tend to actually have really interesting data. The OTAs tend to actually give us stuff to talk about, stuff that feels actionable, stuff that actually feels meaningful. And by that point, we're going to be really hungry for that. Because once we get through the draft, once we get through the end of this month, basically, once we swing into May, it's going to probably be very slow. The main thing that's going to happen in the coming months that isn't the draft itself is probably a Witherspoon extension, and we don't know when that's going to be. That could be tomorrow, and then May is really just kind of a slow month. So that's going to be nice, but don't expect everybody to be there. But the players that we want to be there are probably going to be there. So that's kind of nice. And shout out to Mike McDonald for realizing that you need to make considerations. It's a reward, right? The team won the Super Bowl. They deserve a little bit of a reward here on some level. So cool stuff. But workout program coming up sooner than you might have expected. Like, it doesn't feel like it should happen before the draft, but it does. One other quick thing I want to touch on here before we move on, different topic, but Jordan Schultz tweeted this out earlier today. We did get another top 30 visit update, which I mentioned in the video this morning that the Seahawks had been kind of slow rolling out their top 30 visits. We hadn't really seen one in a while. And according to this report, Mike Washington Jr. is going to have a top 30 visit with the Seahawks in the coming weeks. So that is going to be a very interesting one. That's a player a lot of Seahawks fans have interest in. And he is a running back. He does fit a need. And a lot of people like him. A lot of people not so much. There's a lot of debate here. There's a lot of consternation. There's a lot of variable opinions here. And that's obviously what's going to happen when you have a polarizing player like Washington. But yeah, he is going to be in for a top 30 visit. So at the very least, we want to see what's up. I think it's important to keep in mind this team is probably, and I think most teams are like this. They use their top 30 visits on players they are interested in but have questions about. If they love the player and they feel like they know everything about him and everything's cool and they're just super on board, why use the top 30 visit? You know what you need to know. All right. I will see you guys later. Go Hawks. Might make another video later today, might not. Might just save the quarterback stuff for tomorrow because it's going to be, I think, 3 videos. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Go Hawks. The off-season schedule has been set and things are coming up.